Hello. The first book that I will be reviewing is Sylvester and the Magic Pebble by William Steig. It is falls under the genre of a fantasy children's story picture book, and the basic plot is Sylvester and his family. As you can see from the illustration, they're donkeys, but they're portrayed as living sort of like humans in a house with clothes and tables and all of that. So Sylvester's the child. He's a curious little boy, and he likes to collect rocks. And one day, while he's out, he finds a special red pebble, which he realizes can grant him any wish. So you see him there holding the pebble in his hoof. He realizes that the pebble can grant him any wish, but shortly after that, a lion comes up on him, and as a defense mechanism, Sylvester wishes to be turned into a rock. However, once he is a rock, he is no longer holding or touching the pebble because he became a rock. He doesn't have any hands, and because of that, he is now a big old boulder. His family is looking for him through the town, which, as you can see, is populated by other animals who also seem to live like humans. His mom and dad are very sad. They can't find him. Sylvester's stuck in the wintry cold, and nobody knows where he is. And then, thankfully, there's a happy ending. Mom and dad decide to come for a picnic and fortuitously set up their picnic right on Sylvester the Rock. And they see the little red pebble, which granted Sylvester his wishes. They actually think to themselves, oh, Sylvester would have loved this pebble, put it on the rock, and because the pebble is now touching the rock, Sylvester is able to turn himself back into a boy donkey, and they live happily ever after. So this book was definitely a big hit with my students. I use this in class. The images, as you can see, are very vivid, easy to follow. You know, there's a lot going on in all of them, lots of detail, so the kids were very interested in just looking at the pictures. The storyline also is captivating with the boy, you know, turning into a rock and then being away from his parents. So it incorporates human emotions and human a human storyline that could have actually happened to humans, even though our characters here are donkeys. And I actually use this book to introduce to my students kind of just the range of things that they can write about and the limitless possibilities they have when they start their writing. So obviously this is a fantasy book with you know, it's real characters. It's not completely made up. We have donkeys which exist, but then seeing animals living like humans, then incorporating a magic object, and then a plot twist where the magic object, the use of it actually goes badly. All of this kind of shows them the limitless possibilities of writing. You know, don't have to follow any of the conventional rules of real life. You can you can base things off of things you know. So if you're a big animal fan, you could base your story off of animals, but write it so that they're behaving and living like humans. One thing that I was able to do after reading this book was them just doing a little quick write to generate ideas for anything that could become a magic object. Didn't have to be a pebble. So my students came up with everything from a magic shoe to a magic toilet to a magic car, you know, all kinds of crazy stuff. And then that was a good start for them to then turn that into a story. They worked on those stories for a while, and some of them actually came up with some really cool stuff. So overall, I think this is a really good book to use just because of its interesting plot line that kept the students engaged, and the really vivid illustrations that make it visually appealing, and how it just kind of exposes students to the possibilities that they have when they write and read, which obviously is the goal to foster a love of reading. So that's Sylvester by William Steig, Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, and I would give this a thumbs up rating and suggest its use in the classroom. Alrighty, the second book that I'm reviewing is also by William Steig. It is called Whizzle. However, this book is not illustrated by him. It is illustrated by Quentin Blake. It also falls under the fantasy genre. However, it follows more of a traditional plot line with fantasy. So Whizzle, the main character, is a witch, and this is her pet parrot Beatrice, who's kind of like her accomplice. On a normal day for a witch, she decides that she's going to go over to the DeWitt household and cause havoc. Mr. DeWitt, or Old Man DeWitt over here, is very adept at swatting flies, and Wizzle decided that she wanted to come as a fly. So because of that, she gets swatted at throughout her visit to the house. She's not very happy about this, goes home enraged, and decides to come back the next day and cause havoc. She noticed that Mr. DeWitt only swats with his left hand, which tells her that he's a lefty. So she turns herself into a left-handed glove and plops herself down on the farm. Mr. DeWitt finds it, thinks it's his lucky day, puts on the glove. Little does he know that that glove then makes it so he is not able to catch all of his flies, which makes him very distraught as he is not able to catch the flies. Flies are all over the place. He's broken a bunch of stuff in his house because he's missed with the swatter. His children ask him what's wrong, and when Wizzle isn't happy that they keep pestering him about what's wrong, she then causes them havoc by giving them all these itches. Later that night, she causes their food to explode. So generally, she's just causing a lot of havoc at the household because they made her a little bit upset. Mr. DeWitt realizes that all this bad stuff started happening once he put on the glove, and he decides to take the glove out to the family pond and throw it in the pond, upon which Wizzle turns back into a witch, cannot swim, and then in a rather unexpected plot twist, when she can't swim, Mr. DeWitt jumps in to save her, and they actually seem to fall for each other, become a couple, and Wizzle is then part of the family. So kind of a kooky book, but similar to Sylvester and the Magic Pebble, with some very vivid illustrations and a pretty captivating plot line. The students were very into the book throughout the whole read of it. One thing I especially liked about this book is it uses some pretty advanced vocabulary and even some scientific language. So on this page where it first introduces Wizzle coming in as a fly and introduces Mr. DeWitt, who kills flies all day, it says that he detested, a very good word for not liking something, he detested every breed of fly, especially Musca domestica. So as opposed to just saying common houseflies, it actually provides the scientific name Musca domestica for flies. And then it talks about Wizzle coming back, and Wizzle hurled her body onto her bed and stared up at the ceiling after she came back. So again, hurled, a good word for that creates more imagery about what exactly it looked like when Wizzle was angry and came back to her house. So again, I read this book kind of to introduce the concept of the fantasy genre and to show the kind of limitless possibilities to the students about all the different things they could write about. It was very well received by my students. They thought it was a fun story, thought of a lot of fun ideas from it. It follows kind of a more traditional, you might say, fantasy plotline with a witch and a witch causing havoc and things like that, but then it does have a pretty unique twist at the end. So overall, I would give this a thumbs up. It was very effectively used in my classroom and helped the students generate a lot of ideas for their writing, and again, just kind of expose them to the limitless possibilities of writing, reading, to foster that love of writing and reading.